Hello, and welcome to another conversation. I hope Ola and I don't break each other's head on this conversation. It is Mindfully with Tunmise. My name is Oluwatumise Oladapo Kuku. My aim with Mindfully with Tunmise is to help you and I, because trust me, all of the 28 or so episodes that we've had has helped me navigate myself better, know myself better, and is even enhancing some healing trauma that needed healing with and I'm not even trying to patronize, it's what is happening to me, and it's making me live even more mindfully with myself, with people, how I ride on the road, how you're like, okay, Tunmise, you can't be saying that on the show and you're leaving, yeah. So, and that's what Mindfully with Tunmise is about. It's about you finding yourself within the chaos that is the world, the noise that is the world. So, welcome again to Mindfully with Tunmise. I am the author of Living Mindfully: A Journey to Being, and Olamipo Oluwaseun Daudu Bodola is back.
Oh my God, I don't know. There's something about my name. I love it when you call out my name. It just tickles me.
I know, right? Like, when I say Oluwatumise, like, it's my head, even me that I'm saying it, my head. My head is so like, hey, me, Oluwatumise. So names are so beautiful. All right. So, how are you? And you know the answer to that is not I'm fine.
I don't know why people use I'm fine. I don't know what it means, really. I can't remember the last time I used I'm fine. So this morning I woke up with I'm awesome. It changes every day. It changes, but this morning is I'm fine is so bland. It doesn't have color. I'm okay is even worse. If I tell you I'm okay, just trust me. I don't want to have a conversation with you.
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you know? I didn't know that. Why did you cast me? Because I didn't even know until you said it. Like, okay, when I said okay, move, first sorrow, and like, please. So I was today. My mentor, mother, coach Franda, she asked me, and said, "Good morning and happy Saturday." I was like, "Good morning, Mama, Grand Rising, Queen Mother." That's the way we greet ourselves every single day. And then she goes, "How are you?" I say, "I am well." I say, "Did I just say hi?" I say, "I am well." And and then she goes, "Is that a new mantra?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Someone caught me." That's what I say to myself now. When anybody asks me, "How are you?" I say, "I am well." And the reason is very simple. It's a word of affirmation to my health. My health has been very funny since November. In fact, through the holidays, I was ill. So I just say to whenever anybody asks me now, "How are you?" I am well, and I find that, that helps my neurological system, my neuroplasticity. I am well, saying that constantly, in the last 1 week, at least 2 weeks. My health is still not perfect, as you can see. I've coughed times now, but when I say I am well, and I said, okay, I love it. It's great and all that, but I still want to know the truth. So how are you? And then of course I tell her. There was a court, yeah. So yeah, when I don't want to talk, but I am well is for a reason. I am well is for a reason. I really needed to be saying and I still say to myself, I'm well. It's for a reason. I am okay. Move for sorrow. It's fine. No, I don't want to talk.
Right.
So your burning conversation, because when I said that we're going to do generational shaming, and when they're like, yes, so let's talk. How would you define generational shaming?
I hope that my trying to define would not minimize what it is. It's one generation for one group of people in a particular generation deciding that another generation is not living up to the expectation, and therefore they can label them a particular way. This label usually is not a good label. It's demeaning. It's if I can use the word derogatory, because how else would you name? Would you want to shame? No. So I'm not sure that they set out to shame. I'm not sure that they set out to shame. But their intention is to bring down a particular generation, to label them in a way such that their self-worth is tied to a particular appellation, right? At the end of the day, it brings shame. When we said we were going to have this conversation, I looked something up, and one of the things that I saw, let me read this. It's a quote. It's a quote from, I'll tell you, I'll read a quote. I'll ask you when you think this quote, when it was written.
Please go ahead.
And then...
I saw that bombastic side eye though. What were you giving?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, yeah.
Right, and then, okay, so let me read it to you. And then, I see no hope for the future of our people if they are dependent on the frivolous youth of today. I see no hope for the future of our people if they are dependent on the frivolous youth of today. So when do you think that was written?
When it was written?
Yeah, what do you think it was written?
Where? Or when?
When?
So I think this was written in the 90s.
90s, right? Okay. You're wrong.
When was it written?
You're very wrong. It was written in the 8th century.
Oh, wow.
In the 8th century BC. Just so you see that generational shaming is not new.
It's not new. So, okay, let me ask you then. Oh, before we get to, it's not how. So, for me, the major challenge, the major question I have with generational boxing and the generational boxing, the major problem I have is the stereotypes that comes with it. That is, I know I know that every generation that comes after another generation is questioning something, unless the concept from the generation before it.
And after it. Yes.
So why don't we, engage one another? It's just, I think people who know me know that you cannot say these children. I don't even say these children to my children. I don't say I want more eat to my children. No. To my own children. And I'll tell you why. I did not like it when I was a child, when they said to me, I did it just didn't. I didn't. You can see how, like, my limbic system could not accept it. Are you saying I'm dumb? Are you saying why are you saying these children, these kids, were you born as Adam? That is the question question in my head. In my head, were you born and boom, you're an adult? You went through the same phase. You were a baby, a toddler, a teenager, a teenager, a young adult, and whatever it is that we're using. So it's the stereotype. It's the stereotype that it runs me ragged. And I think it's a disservice to humanity, to a community, because you already have a preconception or perception of a person because you think they are gen something. It's sad. It's really sad. And if we take, okay, so you and I are, let me look at the list though. According to what they said, let me look for it. Just hold on. I sent it to somebody. Hold on. Who did I send it to? I sent it to a friend. Okay, I think that was Sayo. Okay, so I'm having I'm recording and having a conversation. Okay, so you and I are Gen X. That's 65,
right,
between 1965 and 1980.
1980. Right.
Right. We have the Gen Alpha, 2013, 2025. Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. So if you did not know before, let me help you now, everybody. So let me start again. Gen Alpha, 2013 to 2025. Only God knows when they will call the people after 25. Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. Millennials, 1981 to 1996. Gen X, 1965 to 1980. Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Silent Gen, 1925 to 1945. Greatest Gen, 1901 to 1924. All right, of course, anyone who's hearing our conversation now will think that we only want to talk about Gen Z, right? Yeah. But
no.
Yeah.
So I think I think a good place to start the conversation is to even look at why we feel a need to shame.
Yeah.
In the first place. Because there wouldn't be generational shaming if there was no shaming in families, amongst friends, in the community. There would not be anything, in my opinion, of generational shaming. There's this book I read on shame. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but I can't remember. Such an eye opener on the effects of shame, that we do not talk about. People think that they want to guilt trip you, but what they do is end up shaming you. While guilt is something that you can, easily deal with, shame is something that literally runs through generations.
I'm taking a guess that is Brené Brown's The Power of Vulnerability.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Brené. It has to be. Yes. It has to be Brené Brown. It has to be. It has to be Brené Brown. But yeah.
That book was amazing. I know a lot of people won't be able to read it because it took me a long time to finish it because I kept pausing. I'm like, no, but it's a fantastic book. So when we look at
she research. Let's talk about Brené for a moment. She's a shame researcher, and she's done it for over 25 years. Her latest book is The Atlas of the Heart. You should get that.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So she's done. Of course, started with The Power of Vulnerability, Dare to Lead, Daring Greatly, The Gifts of Imperfection, The Gifts of Imperfect Parenting, Atlas of the Heart. Yes. There's a lot. I've almost read all her books, as you can see. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What I read was daring greatly.
Daring greatly, yeah. Where she used the man in the arena as the premise of the book. But go ahead.
Fantastic book, right? So if you look at shame in terms of a child comes on and in you trying to encourage that child, to do better, you begin to say stuff like, is this how your mates behave? Do your people that are coming tops in your class, do they have two heads? That's not any kind of motivation. You're literally shaming the child. It becomes a part of the child. It's almost automatic that child will grow up and raise their own child that particular way. So imagine that this family has 4 children, and then the 4 children are raised in this way. They go ahead to raise their own families of 4 children each. That's already 16 grandchildren plus the 4 children. That's already. So imagine that continues that pattern. It becomes a norm. We do not see how the shaming affects the society at this micro level until it becomes a generational thing. And then we're wondering what exactly happened. What happened is obvious. We know what happened, but are we going to deal with what happened? That I'm not entirely sure. But if we look at it look at it at the level of the generational shaming, and then we go, so what I usually ask, and I ask this question also when it comes to racial issues, how many people have you met of this race that gives you that right to judge a whole 20 million people by the acts of maybe you've met 100,000? I'm just saying you met a lot of them, but you met 100,000 of them in your entire lifetime. What gives you the right to pronounce judgment, right, on the 20 million because of 100,000? Why would you lump up an entire generation of several millions of people, right? Because you've met how many? What percentage? Maybe a 0.001
percentage. It's so. If I, Mishi, I'm gonna define or explain, maybe not define, or trying to give words to what generational shaming is. I would say first is some sort of projection of self-deprecation. I'll explain that. Some unrecognized competition between the older and younger generation. It's rivalry. That's simple. That's what it is. It is the older generation thinking that this younger generation is doing what I could not do in my time. I could not do this. And this person now has to do it. Yeah. That's basically, and once the older generation gives off that energy of rivalry, the younger generation dapada immediately. You might think as a generation X that you are, or a generation silent that you are, that you are not as forthright or forthwith with your thoughts like some younger generation than you are. But the truth is, you rebelled against something too. And the generation ahead of you felt like you were rude to. What you think this person, again, for one, I didn't want to ever go here, but because of this analogy I'm making, what you think that this Gen Z is doing to you that you feel is rude, you did it in your head to your older generation. But because it's a rebellion that was already in stone. It was a rebellion that was already cast in stone before they were beginning. Because now this is the tricky thing that I think people are not conversant with. Because you were treated in a certain way, the people who now birth the next generation are equipping their children with some tools so that children will not be in the place that they were. What you hated in yourself, you are teaching your child not to do. Of course, no. Is a silent, subtle. Look for all the synonyms for subtle battle of yourself. You're seeing yourself in that what you wish you could have done, but you cannot. You couldn't do. When people come to my coaching table, and especially parents, I work with parents, I work with young adults, even to the age of 45. When people come to my table and they're having this tug of war with their children, I almost always ask one question. When you were 16, let's say it was a 16-year-old and the mother became, and you were spoken to the way you're speaking to your child, how did you feel? Ola, 99% of the time, the parent or the adult is quiet. The adult is quiet.
As expected.
And they're like, oh. And I'm like, if you did not like it when you were 16 and you were spoken to this way, why do you think your 16-year-old will like it that you are speaking to them this way? And of course, we continue our conversation and the coaching sessions, and I'm happy to say that I get the response rate is okay, and then it does not mean that you should not parent to parents. You should know when to parent and when to. My child hates it when she's lumped up as a Gen Z. Both my children are Gen Zs. I thought they would be alpha, but my children are Gen Zs. And why? It's not because she doesn't like she was born within the bracket, but because people have now started saying that they are rude. And she goes, I'm not rude. I'm you. And then she I'm not this, I'm not that. Why are people calling me this? Because, so it's that's what I think generational shaming is. It's so self-deprecating. And Ola, in the flip side of it, we also now shame ourselves.
Right. Self-deprecation, yes. We do. So you're trying to carry me to somewhere that
carry me they go to Mishi, carry me they go where no.
One of the things that I used to say way back there, before I even became anything close to a coach, way back, is when I see parents back in church, whether it's still the Orthodox church I used to attend, and then we would want to do stuff as youths, and they would be furious, upset. It never made any sense to me. It wasn't like we said we're going to pack ourselves and go and smoke somewhere or go and drink somewhere. It was always something that as young people you have the energy to do. Maybe you want to do a dance in church, you want to do a singing stuff in church. It was always hard for them to allow, I had a Rema moment way back, and I just decided I was frustration. That they were frustrated about the fact that these are things that we couldn't do.
Yeah.
right? And these children want to do it. Why? Why should they do it? We didn't enjoy our lives. Why should
you enjoy your life?
Right.
That's some generational trauma.
This is some 20-something years ago that I came to that place. So I think that has helped me in not passing judgments on people as much as some people do. Because what I see is, would I also get to a point where I look back at some things that I wish I had done that I didn't do or didn't have the boldness or the courage to do, and someone is doing it and I'm pissed and I'm upset and I'm crazy that they have the good fortune to be able to step out, right, and do exactly what it is that they want to do, that I also wanted to do, but I was not able to do, which is what I see, right, which is what is happening now. There's no way we can avoid this Gen Z issue, because truthfully, the reason why we're having this conversation at all is because it's an issue. It's an
yes, it is.
It's an issue in the organizations they work. It's an issue in the families they've grown up. It's an issue amongst even people who, in their community, people who they have any kind of conversations with, because people come to those relationships or those conversations with them with a mindset. Right, the mindset of this is how these people are, this is how these people are. I honestly, I don't know, maybe I'm just naive or stuff, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. I just see a bunch of people who would not be docile, who would not be caged, who would not accept the nonsense that their parents accepted, who know, let me put it this way, who have an idea, right, of what they want and how they want to be treated. Does not necessarily mean that they know what it is they want, but they have an idea of what they don't want.
Yeah.
And because of, and you know, the problem with ideas is that once it's not tested, it can go anyways. Because of this, they push boundaries. They will not do a 9 to 5 if they don't think they have to do a 9 to 5, right? Our parents worked in 9 to 5. They believed in the 9 to 5. They would go for 9 to 5 for 35 years, right? They don't believe that. Social media has helped them to believe that they can live how they want to live, right? The social construct and context they have is quite different from the generations before them, right? We didn't grow up on social media. We grew up on black and white TV. Black and white TV that would resume at 4 p.m. on most days and end 12. So at 12 a.m. yeah. And that was that, right? But they grew up on a whole variety of exposure, right? Before we literally grew up with them on this at the same time with the internet, right? So the things that was already clouding our own heads was not clouding their brains. Their brains were fresh. They could see things on a different perspective than we were seeing things, right? And again, this is what always causes the differences, the goals between generations. The generation before us, they literally grew up on those huge TVs that probably only worked 2-3 hours a day. They will open those huge TVs. My grandfather had one. And you open
the drawers,
yeah. You know, so the amount of information they had in their time, my father had in his time, is different from the amount of information that I grew up with, right? It's definitely different from the amount of information that the Gen Zs are growing up with. It's different from the amount of information that the Gen Alphas are growing up with. The Gen Alphas literally do amazing stuff. And you're looking at your child and you're like, okay, who taught this child this? They literally know things by instinct, because most times you don't even teach them nothing.
Yeah.
And
so let me borrow from one of my
by
guests.
osmosis, I don't know.
Yeah.
Able to.
One of my guests, Sean Ambassador, it was, I think that was the December episode, and we talked about ancestral data. And one thing that he said that I take away, and I think that if we could embrace that, it would help us, was that he said that you as a person, you're supposed to be an updated version of your ancestors. You're supposed to be. So why are you fighting? Why are you fighting the child that is just coming up? Why you are supposed to learn from a child? And we'll take it back to. I'll take it back to the scripture. There's a reason why Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as this, because as a child, apart from tabula rasa, you are curious. But as you grow, because of domestication, using Don Miguel words, domestication by people who are also were restricted in their own growing, your curiosity then becomes streamlined. And we begin to have this generational rivalry that it takes a person who has found themselves not to live in this societally brewed rivalry. If we can get to the point where we can tell ourselves that this is just societal construct, it is a brewing rivalry. Because you could not do it, why not engage this curiosity and the wisdom that comes with growth, with getting older, with the gift of getting older. And if you meet that with the curiosity of an incarnate, a child, won't we have a better community? And nobody that is shouting, there's nobody that is not grieving for anybody, there's no. It's tiring, I tell you. It's tiring because as a Gen X,
I would.
Gen X, as a Gen X, I remember when I didn't even know I was a Gen X until last month, because I'd be like, where you should not put me inside a box. I've always fought it. Don't put me inside a box. Don't stereotype me, because stereotypes kills individuality. No, don't do it. However, as a Gen X, I remember growing up, just like what you read that was written in the 8th what century you said now? What century did you say what you read was written? Ola, can you hear me?
8th.
The 8th century, what was 8th century?
Yeah, 8th century.
And it was told to me too. It was told to me that I was frivolous. It was told to me that so it's the fact that it was written in the 8th century and we're saying it in 2023, 2024, that the next generation is frivolous, it tells you that is a societal construct. Hola.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead. Go ahead and share your thoughts. That's what I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for your thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm thinking that my thoughts. Maybe try to understand the reason for the shaming. Why we feel that if we bring down one generation, it will make our own generation look better.
Okay.
Right. I do think that every generation has its own good sides, positives, and then we also have our negatives, right? All generations, right? So saying this of a particular, again, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not aware, but I'm not sure what it is they say of Gen X. I really am not sure what they say of us. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they say that we are slackers. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they say of us, but I know that there are things.
The slackers are Gen Zs, isn't it?
No, they're not Gen. Are they Gen Zs? I don't know. I don't know who they call slackers, honestly.
Go ahead. Oh, Gen X. Oh, you are right. Gen X. We are the slackers. Go ahead. I don't know why they call us slackers, though. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Exactly. You see, so that's why I say these things are just based on a bunch of people just coming, agreeing from different sides of the world, and they say this is what we've perceived about these people, and this is who they are, right? For me, I'm trying not to really dive into the Gen Z because I believe that a lot of the things that haven't gone right in previous generations, they are to an extent in my opinion, doing a marvelous job of it. Maybe what they lack, I believe, is guidance, right? Not to stop them from doing what they believe they should do, but to open up their minds to the possibilities of a different perspective. If you share a perspective that is different from theirs, allow them to engage with that perspective and deepen their own understanding of the issues. I think those things would help, honestly, but until we begin to sit down with them and have conversations with generations, we would not know. Our parents, I'm not sure how much conversations our parents had with us. So our own perspective too is limited by what we observed, right? Their perspective is also limited by what they observed until they begin to have these conversations with the different generations that expands their point of view, the way they see things, you know. So if you say of someone who's a Gen Z, will say of someone from previous generations and call them cowards, right? They would say that because in their opinion, a lot of things that are happening won't happen if the generations before them had stood their ground, right? But a lot of things that they probably are not aware of is what the things that have grown their own courage, that have grown their own ability to decide on things they want to do and do it en masse, is because they see people around the world do same. Right. They are literally used to people demanding for their rights. You literally grew up on social media, on TV, seeing people in Egypt toppling their own government. You see people,
Arab rising. What's it called?
Rising. Yes. You see stuff like that all around the world, right? It's after a while you be like, if they can do it, what's stopping us? Let's do it. It just encourages you to believe in yourself, encourages you to dare some things that the generations before you had no access to stuff like that. You watch Voltron, you watch what else? Things that were already they were in live TV, even the news. News was conditioned to what the government was, more or less a propaganda of what the government would want us to see, right? So there was no way that this generation X, would have been as open-minded, to the things that the Gen Zs see So a sitting together, a cross-pollination of ideas, of perspective, I believe would help.
Yeah.
That's the way I deal with the generation after me. It's hard to have conversations with the generation before me because, again, they've already taken a hard stance, and I say that it's hard to teach and hold dog new tricks.
New tricks. Mm-hmm. So my
Right.
concept,
But-
yeah. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
So,
Let me hear that.
Yeah. So the thing now is, someone would listen to us and think that we are validating disrespect. We are validating
Bad behavior.
rude. We are validating bad behavior. Before you do that, though, maybe ask yourself the things that you rebelled against. Your parents called it bad behavior. People that heard of you called it bad behavior. There is, it's, and again, it's usually, you'll find that some things that are, what's the word now, that are communal, that are common denominators are not questions. There are things that affect people and their innateness, the things that concern what anybody would define as rights that are eventually questioned. Is it like right. You said? Yes, that's what it is. Why did baby boomers start having babies all over? Because they were restricted, but they were not giving explanations and tools as to why you should not have premarital sex and all that. What do you understand what I'm trying to say? Why were the silent gen called silent gen? Why were the great ones called great ones? This is why I think I know that the power of language is so underemphasized. Because if you constantly tell a person you are rude, you're a coward, what do you expect the person to? It's going to take, and this is going to take me to myself. I'm going to use myself so that it's not as if you're speaking newspaper or we're speaking. I hate statistics though. I still hate statistics, but just because you just took a bunch of people, and because you took a bunch of people, you think that's how everybody is. That's why I hate statistics, not because it does not work. Whatever. Anyways, now, as a child, because I was always questioning things, I was constantly called Elemi, Emery, and all that. Trust me, I acted. I acted. So when they expect me to act out, I will act out. Oh, that's what you expect of me. I will act out. What is she doing that corner? Why all by herself? I will stay there. Maybe you say I have spirit. Let me go act like it. So I took it. So my parents used to give us, the church that we grew up, they used to give us what we call a didimajem or whatever it was. I can't go into that. It's like a talisman. It looks like a talisman. I was so into this narrative, this weird girl narrative that I was born with. They told me I was weird, man. I was so into it. I was so into it, Ola, that when instead of me to fight back in school, I'll remove this talisman, and because of all the Yoloros I've watched, I'll begin to do me, and I was punished for it constantly. Because I wanted to be weird. I wanted to serve that, So why are we doing that? There is no generation. Let me put it to you. Let's do a survey. Every generation is guilty of mocking the other generation. Every single generation, let's do it. Let's do that survey. If we dare, every generation is guilty of mocking the other generation. It is a problem because it is a serious lack of respect between generations that there should be in order of generations to grow and build together. However, let's come back to what Yoruba people say. Omodegbon, agbagbon, lafidodufe. Okay, which means young and the young and the old work together to. I'm transliterating. Odu is not definitely work together to build, but that is the oracle that birthed it. Yes, thank you. The oracle that birthed it. Do you see how deep that metaphor is? The wisdom of the old, the wisdom of the young is the oracle that birthed Ilefe. Come on. Why are we not living it? Why are we not living to that oracle? Why are we not living to that reality? Why are we not living to that culture that has birthed us, that has made us? Why are we not embracing that a younger generation their curiosity is as much wisdom as your latent and evolving wisdom? Okay, I thought you were going to be the one that will be an apologist, but it seems that I'm the one who's not. Let me speak. Go ahead.
No. The conversation is, like I said, is taking me to places that I have not allowed myself to go to, and then this conversation, I'm seeing things in a particular way. If, for example, if this generation of X generation, baby boomers, if they hadn't, if we haven't shamed the Gen Zs, I am not sure they will have turned out the way they are. Now, this is why I say so. This is what narratives do. This is what it does to people. You say something about somebody, like you said, you say something about someone often enough, and they begin to act it out. Right. So we say a lot of things based on perception or observation of a few people that we see in that generation. We say these things often enough, it becomes to them an idea of what it is that they don't believe that they are, but they can become. Right. So when you say to them, they are rude, what exactly is the shared meaning that you have with them for what rudeness is? There's no shared meaning. For you is that they are being disrespectful, right? For them, it means they're being assertive. So, because there's no shared meaning, they begin to resent the fact that you want to take away their assertion from them. It becomes a group thinking, this herd thinking thing. It becomes a group thinking. They don't like us. They want to take away assertion from us. They want us to be docile. They don't want us to do this. They want to cheat us. They want to maltreat us. It becomes an idea. I know the power of an idea. The power of an idea is that if few people can take it, run with it, and becomes a movement, which is exactly what is happening. Which is exactly what's happening. And then we don't ask ourselves, where did they start from? We generally don't ask questions of why. We don't know how to ask those questions of why. We're only seeing what's happening, and we're saying, what are they doing? What are they doing? We're not asking, why is this happening? Because if we ask the question, why is this happening? We would begin to see the patterns, because there are patterns. There are patterns of one person eventually tipping the point. There's usually a tipping point, and then everything collapses. And they will say, I want you to burial. It happens, and there's a tipping point, and they will see this. But again, the question is, why are they doing the things that they are doing? If we look into the root cause, I think for a large part, I don't know if it's a human being thing or if it's a Nigerian thing. We tend to look at branches, right, to find out what the problem of a tree is. Wallahi, it hasn't made any sense to me, right? Because simple integrated science teaches that if a tree is stunted, is corrupt, is diseased, you can almost just check the root of it and find where the problem is coming from. But we don't do that. We will go to the branches, we'll check the branches. Why is this tree bad? We'll check the branches, we'll check the leaves. Then we will wonder why the fruit of that tree is poisoned. We're not checking the roots. We're not saying what is feeding the roots. No, we're not doing that. And I think that until we do that, if we continue with this sticking our head in the sand and pretending like the problem is not real, we will get, it's just, I think Albert Einstein said that foolishness is continuing on the same journey, on the same path, and expecting to arrive at a different destination. Right. So until we can sit and say, okay, so why is this happening? And then begin to highlight the patterns and then begin to see how we can address those patterns, things will not change. I'm not a foolish person. We want to change things, and we need to sit down and say, okay, this is the perspective we have. What is the perspective you have? Oh, this. Okay, so for example, on this issue of rude, this is why we think you're rude, because you don't show difference, you don't show respect when you talk to us. Your voice is at this level. You're rolling your eyes. You can't wait for us to finish talking before you interrupt us. That's what is considered rude to this our own generation, right? So they also say to us, oh, we also think that you're rude because sometimes you're condescending in your approach to asking us to do stuff. They say to you, we think you're rude because you demand. You said what?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You demand of us things that we're not contractually obligated to do, right? So when these things are open up and there's a melting pot to say, oh, okay, we will shift ground on this, you two shift ground on this, and there's a shifting of grounds, these issues will go away. Because these issues are man-made. They're not natural. They're man-made. We make up these problems for ourselves. And it's only ourselves, that can sit down and say, this is where the problem is coming from. Let's do, because truth is, the Gen Alphas, I'm already saying it, if we are not careful, people that are still alive, that's what I mean by we, are not careful to raise these alphas with care. What we see or think of the Gen Zs is going to be like a child's play.
All right. So what I want to do with this conversation is I hope I'm reaching out to some Gen Zs and millennials and different generations. Like I said, you and I have spoken from a point of view of mental health advocates and coaches now, and the fact that we are aware. But I'm hoping to expand this conversation and actually get people who are on the end, the receiving end, and even people our age. If I could get an elderly person who's older than me, will be willing to have this conversation with me, I think I should start reaching out to people now. Who will be willing to have this conversation with me, and let's look at how we can work together and fulfill that prophecy of that, from that adage that says there's a wisdom and of the old and the young is what births an oracle, the oracle for growth. I hope that we'll be able to do that. I already have an amazing mind who is on the who is on the list of guests for the show. I sincerely hope it comes to the studio. But again, if it's virtual, I wouldn't mind. That would be fine. Let's so that we see how this generational, stereotypical ideas and all of that is affecting how they grow, how they relate to themselves, how they we even how they how we use this, how the stereotypes affect the way that we make wealth, we understand, we have relationships, we these stereotypes, like you said earlier, we don't see how it affects the ecosystem, the human ecosystem. If we can expose this conversation and expand this conversation, I hope that will begin to, heal and raise an army of the ill. That's why you should read the release book if you've not read it, Ola. There's a Heaven for Bad Girls. It broke such, because she said, and literally, I know you're listening, so you're up next. She wrote this book for, with Gen Zs in mind, and that is not what I read, though. When I read it, I'll release my review in a moment, probably this week. But what I read was she going through the paradigms, going through the paradigms of different generations, and she even touched on feminism, she touched on patriarchy, and they're short stories. That's the interesting thing. They're really short stories that leave you on cliffhangers and allows you to just think and sit with yourself and see if this is gonna work. Yeah. So that there's a Heaven for Black Girls. Don't really Nia wrote that. So maybe if we sit down and have this conversation, if I can get her also to get her Gen Z into this, and two of us, speak with and see, we need to raise an army of the healed and stop this generational pain, this generational mutual distrust, this generational mutual what's the word I'm looking for now? Mutual suspicion. That's what we live in, isn't it? We live in such mutual suspicion of each other, generation from generation to generation, and that's actually game. So how would you round this up?
For me, it would be, let's do better. Let's just do better. And I know that it might be hard, because it would be unlearning, relearning, unlearning, relearning, and that can be very hard, but we can do better. We can do better. Everyone. This is not just Gen X or Gen Ys, or it's everyone. It's everyone. By having conversations, I think conversations would really help us, to better understand each other. And I think that open-mindedness would help us to be able to move forward from where we are to a place where maybe a land of milk and honey.
Amen. All right. So how will I round this off? We all have some internal mild shame that is uncomfortable. We will have it. It is nature's way, the freeze flight, whatever thing, of helping us rein in our impulses, to help us stay safe, to live well with others, and to reach our goals. That's nature's way. That's the way God has created us, to stop, to breathe, to notice, to reflect, to respond, and then resolve. That's the way God has created it. That's the way the universe has made it. And that is fine. But what is not fine is projecting it as the reality of others.
Mm.
And and that is what generational shaming is. That is what, thinking that masculinity is toxic or feminism is toxic or patriarchy is this or matriarchy is that, and all the plethora of adjectives we used to qualify ourselves. It's okay to have this internal and mind, because of course you're domesticated by someone who also has some internal and mind shame that is uncomfortable and then projected, and that is fine. But once you know, you can rebirth yourself. Abi, that's not what our Yoruba people will say, that it is one thing to be born, it is one thing to
reborn by yourself.
So we can stop this. We can stop this pain that is flowing through. It's flowing, and it's become so toxic that relationships are being affected. Even older people, supposedly older people's relationship are being affected because they are, whether they like it or not, being influenced by the almost transactional nature of what relationships have become, set according to the stereotype that we have set Gen Zs and millennials by. All right? Okay. I'll say
it's a lot, really. So, the funny thing, the conversations we have are just, I don't know where they come from, but
we have them, and we should have them. So again, okay, blackagebenches.com is a place. I would put some, hopefully I'll be able to find some links that I'll put in the show notes that would help with understanding how dilapidating it is for someone who is older than you or someone who is younger than you to undermine you, because they're not just undermining you, they're undermining your authenticity, and you will fight. There's nothing like, that's the way you were created. You will fight, and when someone undermines you, that's where, isn't that where the generational mistrust comes in? Because you're older, you can undermine me, and that is fair, but we must do better. Love yourself, love your neighbor, love your country, and in this case, love the older generation, the younger generation. Above all of these, love God. He is the essence of your being. Until the next time we have a conversation, please stay curious, stay authentic, and love yourself. Ola, thank you as always for being part of it.
Thank you.
Mindfully with Tunmise.
Thank you.
Yeah.